So, what I really want to talk about is just like closure with my current relationship.
Mm. Yeah, I'm happy that you took this opportunity to tell me that it's ending.
Yes.
And have you talked about like custody at all?
No.
What did I walk into? I'm scared.
I got him.
I thought it was a bit, and then I was like, "It's a
Got
bit."
him. Got him. Yeah. Like I would talk about a divorce over this podcast.
Would
I thought you might have been doing like like that one time. I think it was you and Ben did the marriage thing of like if you're married. I was like, what if they're just role playing?
Oh yeah, that's fair.
But then I got
I
Um,
concerned.
would I would kill both of you before you got divorced.
We're day drinking. We're day drinking. We're day drinking. Day drinking.
Welcome to Day Drinking.
We're day drinking.
This is a kind of a spin-off sister episode thing of our normal podcast format where we get to talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about. No topics, no structure, just a couple dudes hanging out talking about stuff. But first, Andrew Mellis, what are you drinking?
I am going with my classic tequila and Topo Chico.
Topo Chico.
It
Love
is
it.
delicious. And Travis, what are you drinking?
I'm actually trying something new tonight. Well, new for the
Ooh.
podcast. I had it the other day. It's the Sweetwater Day Trip IPA. It was real good. I like this a lot. It's for a. I feel like it should be out in the summer. It's more of a summery beer, but it's winter as we're recording this, and I'm happy about it. It's different.
Winter-ish.
It does. I don't know if it's. It's been so long since they had their Whiplash IPA, which was God. I think that was out maybe 8 years ago, something like that. It was one of my favorite ones they ever did, and I can't tell if this one's similar to that, but this is kind of rivals in terms of like, yeah, that's a real good, that's a real good beer. I thoroughly enjoy that. So good job, Sweetwater. Anywho, Drew, I need some closure.
What about?
A couple things. First of all, you and I have talked about it last week, I believe. Yeah, it was last week slash this Monday. Campaign three of Critical Role came to an end, and so that's kind of where I got the idea for closure. I'm not going to give any spoilers to that campaign, um, or any of the other stuff that happened in the final, say, 3 or 4 episodes. But it reminded me that I have so many things open right now, things that I'm doing, things that I'm like either projects or shows or waiting for movies, and I just need some of them to close, and that's what I kind of mean by closure.
Mm.
The one that comes to mind the most is something that I've been watching for probably at least 2, 3 years now. I got to go back and see when he first started, but do you know who Colin Furze is?
No.
He's a British YouTuber. Shout out to my British folks. And I don't, maybe it was even longer ago. He built a bunker in his backyard. It was a secret
Mm.
bunker. And then at some point, he decided that he wanted to be able to get from his workshop to his bunker. So he literally started digging a hole down into the ground that went all the way from his little workshop to his secret bunker. And then he was like, "Wait, I need it. Now I want to be able to get to the house." And so he dug a hole underground from there to his house. And it's like, it's not just like dirt and wood. It's all the way down. It's about probably 5.5, 6 feet high. Once he has all the steel reinforcement and concrete reinforcement around it. Um, and he's almost done with this next part, but I feel like he's been working on this last part for uh probably close to a year now, and that's his secret underground garage that's in his front yard that's going to connect to everything else. And
It's like a
I
Batman garage where it like lifts up and swallows the car.
it will have a elevator lift that comes up out, and you can specifically for his DeLorean that he can drive into, and then it will go down.
Of course, it's a DeLorean.
Yeah. And I understand, I know it's not easy. And at this point, it's not really a secret because he has people out front like delivering cement, and he's not just like digging on his own anymore. He's had excavators, etc., come in, and he has to get, permits for this kind of stuff at this point. But it's been so long, and I need him to finish his garage. I'm talking, I don't know if you're looking it up right now, but it's one of those things, Colin, if you're listening, you need to finish this garage. I've been
Please.
I know you've had to make other crazy content outside of the garage in order to fund the garage project. I get that. And I know I think last year like they had like record rain in the UK or something like that, just number of days raining, and it rains a lot there anyway. So he couldn't build this garage secretly because it was just would have been an open pit. And so I need him to finish it. I've been watching it for a very long time. And every time he releases a video now, he doesn't make as much progress as I want him to, and I need him to finish it. And so I need closure on Colin first. That's one. Two, I one of the things we've talked about is how I'm not great at open world games because I either get lost or just yeah, I just never been good at it. And so I'm finally playing through Ocarina of Time.
That's part of the fun of it, though.
No, no, no.
You can just do whatever.
No,
And there's
I get
there's
that.
suggestions for Ocarina of Time's a little bit different because it's kind of more linear than you'd think it is. But when I think of open world games, I think of like Skyrim
Sure.
or Fallout, where you can literally just fuck off and never even talk to anybody with a main quest. But I feel like you have a limited ability to do that in something like Ocarina of Time, which don't get me wrong,
Sure.
happy you're finally doing it because it's still my favorite game ever.
I'm struggling so hard. I'm gonna finish it. I'm gonna get my closure.
There's nothing wrong with using a guide on
Oh,
games like
I
that
have to.
also.
It's not a matter of uh, want to. I literally don't know how I would be able to progress in this game without it. I there's so like when I first booted it up, I was like, I'm gonna talk to every NPC. I'm gonna go into every building. I'm gonna do all the things I'm supposed to. And I'll say 5% of the way through. I'm like, I'm missing so much shit. I have not found all of the things that I need to find. I'm not doing any of the stuff that I'm supposed to do. And it took me way too many times to get the horse. Finally got it. And now I'm just like I'm gonna finish it, but it's gonna take me months because I just don't have the time to sit down and spend 2, 3 hours, 4 hours at a time on it. But 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, an hour here, hour there, sure. But no, I'm gonna get my closure on this. I'm gonna say that I did it. I'm gonna say that I beat it, and I'm gonna say I can officially say that I did not enjoy it. I'm not knocking it as we've talked about as a good game and as a uh revolutionary type game. Like I'll give it all the credit in the world for all those things, but as me as a player, I do not enjoy this.
But honestly, fair.
Yeah,
I get that that's
I'm not
not
knocking the game itself.
for everybody. As far as like quote unquote open world games go, it is the one of the first and the least. I don't even know how to put this. Like, there's if you know Zelda, there's clear direct. Like, you've got to go to the
Right. There's
you
a
know
story.
different temples and then eventually beat Ganon. Um,
What?
oh God, spoilers
Ah.
for anybody for this game from the 90s. Um, but yeah, and there were in today's modern like open world games, you can get so lost talking to an NPC who gives you a quest to do this that's in this place. Even in the newer Zelda games, um, you could legitimately spend 100 hours not doing anything. Where at least in Ocarina of Time, it was streamlined enough to where the side quests were meaningful. The like mini games were fun and lucrative, and everything kind of meant something
Right.
towards the end goal. Whereas that's not necessarily true for the games that I'm thinking of as far as like the modern open world
Mhm.
games.
Yeah, yeah. It's
So
I
if
know
you
that.
hate this game, don't ever try
No,
any of
I
like
will not touch
Fallout,
Skyrim. I
yeah,
as
Skyrim, Red
awesome
Dead
as it
Redemption,
looks.
any of those.
I did try Fallout once, like God, it must have been 15 years ago, and I don't think I got past the first arena, like the first area. I was like, what am I supposed to do? I can't. I don't know where to go.
That's the
So
best part. You can go anywhere.
no, I'm talking like I couldn't even get out of the first section. I was like trapped. And then I think like a zombie or whatever monster attacked me. I was like, I don't have a weapon. And I just died. I was like, this is stupid. Whereas, I don't know, there's a game, what was it called? It was called Prototype. Did you ever play Prototype?
Yeah, I did. Played the first one. I never played the second one, but
Second
they
one
were
wasn't as good.
no.
Prototype was open. Prototype was kind of like it was like the Arkham series, which I loved the Arkham series because there was like a clear,
See, I would consider those open world games. Like
but
there's clear directives and like you
but
get
like
quests and whatever, but you can go and do different things.
right. But to me, it was um, I think with those, and I don't know if this is just me dumb, they had clear markers on the map. This is where you need to go to advance the story, right? It was like you can go do whatever you want, and there's a bunch of other cool side quests, but it was very like they had a little map in the bottom left or right and said, this is where you need to go. And then the next cutscene would come on, and then you would have to fight. So at least if I wanted to go super linear and I didn't want to do any of the side quests, I didn't have to look for the what linear was. And I think
Mm.
that's the major difference for me was with Zelda and probably Skyrim is just like if you don't tell me where I need to go, I'm gonna like do a side quest and be like, okay, now what? Now what? Now what? Now what? Tell me where I need to go. I'm not picking up on the clues. I don't remember all the names of all the cities. I don't know that. I don't. I'm not.
That's
My
why we
brain's
keep
not putting these
why
three
we keep
things.
notebooks.
Yeah, I'm not writing down shit while I'm playing video games. I'm not doing work while I'm playing video. Anyway, I'm getting
I do.
closer on that.
So to bring it back to your what was his name, Colin? Um, do you remember Tunnel Girl
No, I don't.
from like 20, I think it was like early 2020s or whatever, and she decided that she wanted to build a tunnel underneath her house in God, where was it? Fuck. I'm gonna have to look it up. Hold on. Virginia.
Uh-huh.
And there was all these like was a poster on TikTok and like an influencer, and I think she was like known as the science person, um, and had started building this tunnel and like had no uh clear like direction from the government or like local municipality on if she could or could not do this. She just started doing it.
Sure.
But it was like she owned the property and it wasn't hurting anybody else, and she wasn't planning to go outside of that, but they were still like, okay, but we don't know if this could, you know, affect gas lines or sewer
Yeah, you
or
want to get a
all.
survey, and you don't
Yeah,
necessarily need permission, but you should probably get a survey to come out and
but
make
yes,
sure. Yeah.
something. And then they were worried that like, it could collapse around you, but you're doing it on your own property, so does it matter in the long run? um but then she was talking most recently about like quarrying to build her own castle
Nice.
still on her own land, and I
Of
have not
course.
gotten any closure about that. I think her last update was mid last year sometime, and I haven't looked it up. I'm sure I could look it up and actually get some closure on it, but I have not ventured into it because she like, and it was more like what you were talking about where they were building a bunker and just like under almost like the Great Escape
Yes.
type of tunnels with just wood
Right.
to to make it a little bit stronger, and nothing, there are no like building plans or
Mhm.
schematics or anything like that. So that's one that I would really like closure on. Wait, so have you gotten to the water temple yet?
No,
Oh,
I'm about to
you're
do
super
the
slow.
I'm about to do the fire temple.
Okay, fire temple's not that bad.
But my problem is, I don't think I've collected enough heart pieces. I think I'm based on because I didn't start with a walkthrough. Um, and when I would use the walkthrough originally, it was like, let me just go like get a hint as where I need to go.
Mm,
And I was skipping over all the gold spiders, and I was
yeah,
just
you
like
don't need those.
I was just going straight to the stuff. And now I think they're assuming if you've done everything that they've told you to do, you should be at like 12 hearts or 15 hearts of life, and I'm at 8. Which I don't think is bad.
No, it's doable.
It's just I think I need to make sure before I get to Big Boss, I need to make sure I have more than 8.
I mean, with those type of games, I always caution do the stuff that's going to make you stronger, and it's so different from like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, where you can take your time and they're the enemies are not like that terrible, and even the bosses are not that bad.
So anyway, Unend is another thing I'm listening to. Episode 16 came out today at the time of this recording. Have you been listening to Unend?
I have. I'm not that far along. I kind of put
I've
it on a little hiatus. I like it. Um, Probably as much as I like the first one, just because it's giving me a little bit more information about the universe they've created.
right, they're world building a lot more in this one.
Yeah, a lot more. And I think that it's kind of like going into your sophomore year of, well, technically, I guess junior if you want to include
It feels more
that
sophomore
miniseries.
because they
Sophomore, I think, is good, and they've got the backing behind them, like
right.
monetarily, and to just be able to like put resources and time and effort into it.
This is a MITS podcast for our listeners.
So I'm liking it more and more. Whereas I loved the mystery of the first season and like the imagination behind, especially the way they talked is like, whatever you think this is, that's probably what it is
Right.
with a lot of their descriptions.
Hmm.
Whereas now they're kind of nailing it down a little bit more, but still leaving a lot of mystery into it. And yeah, I really need to catch up on that one.
Yeah, it's been good. I like this one. It picked up. It which it needed to. I think the first, like most series, the first two or three maybe had to slog through a little bit, and then it really picked up. I don't remember which episode it was, but
I think for me, and slight spoilers for anybody who might be interested in this, when they started getting really high up, and got to that like oasis,
yes, that was awesome.
and then went on from there, to like the research station, and then even further. That was when it, like, the characters started to
Mhm.
coalesce into something that I actually cared about. Which it's always hard, especially in like any sort of TTRPG role playing game, to get me to like actually care about the people that I'm listening to, just because I consume a lot of media. And this one, I was like, holy shit! Like, I actually want to know what they're gonna
Right.
do. There's mystery surrounding them. Some of them are wild cards. Some of them are, have a clear directive that they're following, that kind of thing. So I really have enjoyed. I think I'm on like episode 8 or 9 right now.
Yeah.
I cannot remember.
So you're far enough along. You're in.
The last one I listened to, they were going down.
Okay, so
Um,
you got to the above the mica, above the
yes.
yes. Okay. What other things do you need closure on?
This is a hard one for me, and just because it's so prevalent, and I don't want to seem like an early adopter type of attitude for it, but Game of Thrones.
Okay.
I just have to throw it out there that, as somebody who like read the books before there was a TV show, watched the TV show, and the first 3 4 seasons were the absolute most phenomenal things on television at the time, and then ruined it so spectacularly. And now at this point, I have a terrible TV ending and no closure on the books whatsoever. Fuck George R. R. Martin and everything that he stands for.
I actually remember I was in your house at in Nashville, and I had found because I didn't have HBO, and I had found a way to like watch it on some pirate type website on my phone. I was like laying on your couch one night, just binging season one or two or something like that. I don't remember. And it was so terribly like pirated, so I couldn't even see it really. I wouldn't mind going back and watching the first two seasons or something like that just to really kind of get a grip on everything. But I yes, it would be nice to have some real closure, but I also never read the books, so I don't have the same but I understand. I
And it was
understand.
kind of both, like the 12, if you're, because I feel like I can take both separately and
Hmm.
think about the television show as itself and the book series as itself. The television show was so dynamic and just well acted, so much money put into it, production value and acting and everything, and then to end it so poorly left a bad taste in my mouth. And then to, even now, still, what are we on, like almost 10 years since the last book? um I think that's right, is somewhere around 10 years, to have read up to that point and not have anything further, which I think the book series ended mid season 5 or 6,
I thought it was seven, but
somewhere around there.
because wait, was Game of Thrones 9 seasons?
No, Game of Thrones was 6,
Oh,
I think.
I don't remember.
I'll have to look that up real quick.
Yeah, but it was like I only said seven because I thought it was like 9 seasons long. But if that's not right, then yeah, it was like season five or something where they ran out of source material.
Mhm. Oh, 8 seasons.
Okay. So maybe
And
yeah, about beginning of
yeah,
season 7, they ran out of source material.
yeah. Well, no, beginning of season like 6-ish is when they not started running out of source material, but like some of the timelines weren't matching up.
They're taking a creative,
So they had to take some license,
yeah,
and some of it was good, some of it wasn't. And then, yeah, whatever the catastrophe that.
was so bad.
And one for any of our super nerdy listeners that I've never gotten closure on and will forever to this day be just a thorn in my heart is Firefly, the
Yep.
TV series. One season aired out of order. Best thing to have ever been on television, in my opinion. I know we're talking about television a lot, but um, it, just so well acted, so well scripted. Just I watch it at least once a year. Um, all of the episodes, and have never gotten. There are some like um comic books and graphic novels that have kind of finished out the series, but to like not have those actors have the ability to finish that, to because it felt like, even especially in the last like couple episodes of the season, got to where they really were in the groove and feeling that this was something that could be some like on the, obviously it's a Joss Whedon property, which may or may not be problematic to some people, but like on the same level of like Buffy, or it's, any of those other IPs that had real potential to do amazing things over 8, 9, 10 seasons, and then I never actually got to
Yeah.
experience that.
That is I don't know if I've actually divulged the secret, but I have never seen Firefly.
That's okay. I love you. I
Oh,
love you still.
and now we're gonna let Danny into the room.
Oh shoot.
So what I really want to talk about is just like closure with my current relationship.
Mm. Yeah, I'm happy that you took this opportunity to tell me that it's ending.
Yes.
And have you talked about like custody at all?
No.
What did I walk into? I'm scared.
Ah, got
I
him.
thought there was a bet, and then I was like, "It's a
Got
bet."
him. Got him. Yeah. Like I would talk about a divorce over this podcast.
I thought you might have been doing like, like that one time. I think it was you and Ben did the marriage thing of like if you're married. I was like, what if they're just role playing?
Oh yeah, that's fair.
But then I got
I
Um,
concerned.
would kill both of you before you got divorced.
that's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. We would
Um,
deserve it.
yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think it's in our marriage contract. It says the only reason why either of us would get divorced is because of cheating, and at that point, that person would deserve getting a divorce. But that
Yeah.
like, or murder. But like,
We're exempt from the cheating, right?
yeah, this is
Outside the
she
marriage.
married
She married
us.
all of us. Okay.
It
Yeah,
it
that's
I'm
applies to
just
the first husband, not
making
the other
sure.
husbands.
I haven't looked at the contract in a long time.
yeah.
Yeah, there's some redlining in there.
Danny, we are talking about closure, but really more along the lines of like stuff we're into and or projects, not necessarily relationship closure.
Oh,
We might talk about relationship closure at some point, but we haven't gotten that far.
nice.
Do
Is
you
there
have anything
anything?
you need closure on in your life?
Hmm.
You don't have to get deep about it, just something you're
Yeah.
wishing just end. Just get to the end. Let's go.
Just
Also, is
can't.
Brittany in the car with you?
No, I'm on the way to the airport to pick her up right now. Um, what is closure? Yeah, man. I mean, a lot of work stuff, man. That's actually a really good question. I need to think on that one because I feel like
Okay.
there's a lot of things that we're just constantly chasing closure on. Like, I want closure on the car, like our lease is up. I just want, but it's been like
Yeah.
a month fucking process to kind of go back to the exact same car where we started. Like, I wanted to check out the like they have this new Hyundai electric car. I was like, that'd be sick. But then I was like, okay, this other car has better trim, but it's a little smaller. Then we went and drove it, and now it's like we're literally just back on the same car that we have. And I'm like, I just wasted so much energy.
I
I just want
just
closure.
assume you still have the same car from high school.
I donated
The
that one.
one,
Oh, nice.
the one that I
That one,
drove across the country
Yes.
to give you
yep,
with
with
no power steering.
no power steering,
It was
no
awful.
speakers, I'm pretty sure.
No speakers.
And then let's see what, and then yeah, like, and it was just like full to the brim. So I don't even know how you and Emerson honestly fit in it because I put all my shit in there.
We farted in it a lot.
Let me ask you guys this. I don't know if this counts as closure, and I'm gonna paint the theme for this. Is just having unanswered questions considered needing closure? And I put this in the realm of like going back to TVs and movies is like the MCU and
Mhm.
not after the Jonathan Majors stuff and him not being king anymore. It's like, where are you guys going? What direct, like, you guys don't have a direction anymore, and I need you guys to figure something out and like continue to produce better or get back to producing better content. And so, does that count as something you need closure with, or is that just questions? What's the difference?
Mhm.
It it doesn't count for me because at the end of the day, more so with the Marvel universe than like the Star Wars universe. Let's say, let's
Hmm.
put those two, on
Okay.
the scales. I feel like the Marvel universe can just do whatever it wants and it'll be fine regardless because there is continuity errors in the comics as well, and they're just kind of okay with that at the end of the day.
Hmm.
And like shit happens, actors change, um, people do stupid shit and get taken out. Bad movies happen, but I'm not I'm not on the edge of my seat wondering where does this all go because I feel that's kind of the spirit of the franchise is like there it's
But it
um,
wasn't though. Like for the first 10 years, we
but
all
if you
had led up to Endgame, and it was like this perfect,
but at the
kind of
end of the day if you're a comic fan
sure.
or a video game fan or any sort of like fan who understands that sort of thing, you understand that there's a timeline associated with like how long an actor can play this one role and how many movies they've signed on to. So to me, it does not matter so much in the Marvel universe. Whereas like in the Star Wars universe, I want a little bit more continuity because I feel like that's a little bit more focused
Mhm.
and not necessarily like leading up to something, but you want things to match up a little bit more and to actually have like a purpose in telling a story. Whereas for me, the Marvel universe it is entertainment. It is not
Okay.
something I'm following with, every I'm not looking at every single scene being like, what does that mean? What do those clues lead to? There's the
Mhm.
obvious like end credit scenes and all of that kind of
I
stuff
guess
that
they just had me on the hook for that 10 years where all that stuff was relevant. All of there's Easter eggs in everything, and it all again led to Endgame in some way, shape, and form. Uh, So there's that part, with the actual story. But then there's also like the way that they're I don't even know what phase we're in now. Phase five, something six. It's just, and I know COVID threw a wrench in a lot of stuff, but it was just like one of those. What are we like? There didn't seem like a clear direction at all in the entire universe, and so
Yeah, I think it's the difference between aimless and I think
right
that's it, right? Like we got closure. We got closure. It's just you know,
now what are we
the end of
doing?
it. Now what exactly? Now they just don't know where to go with it. That's a different problem.
It was literally called Endgame, and then they
Right.
kept going.
And they ended the game. They literally ended the game with a funeral. Spoiler alert. Won't tell
Well,
you who.
somebody dies.
Maybe. Maybe.
Anyway, yeah, that's I'm sure there's other things I need closure with. Any other things we need closure on? I'm sure there's other things I need closure on that I just can't think of, like projects around the house.
I really, the biggest one in my brain right now is how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop?
We got wait. I can let's close something right now. I got you.
A one, a
What,
two.
what else is ChatGPT good for except for
These kind of things.
how many licks does it take to get to the center?
I think there is a definitive answer, but I cannot remember it.
Well, no, because they're all not all Tootsie Pops are created equal, so there has to be a variable,
There
like
And
is
a
not,
differential.
not all tongues, you know,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, everyone has a different
lick the same way.
approach. Yeah,
right, but I think if I gave you a range,
yeah,
you would be that would give you closure.
depending on the width of the range.
So
I'm gonna wait.
researchers,
Can I guess before?
sure.
I'm gonna guess somewhere between
It's
1,500 and 2,000.
Way lower.
Way lower.
Way lower.
Damn.
And this does say to reach the center, not to dissolve the entire lollipop, only leaving
Okay.
the.
Truth.
Now that's what I took reach the center as, not
Yeah.
maybe the study didn't.
Expose the center.
Correct.
So let me go with like 300.
You are much closer. Researchers at Purdue used a licking machine and found
I love researchers at Purdue. Like this was an actual study they
I'm
did.
sure they did.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
by Purdue.
We should do an entire episode on the craziest studies
I like it.
that have
Craziest.
ever been done.
Um 364 licks.
Wow.
Nailed it.
However, human tests varied, and the range was 144 to 411, depending on licking technique and tongue moisture.
Oh yeah, that also makes sense.
So I think
Hmm.
with the licking machine and the high end of the range being 411, I think anywhere between like 3 to 350 is probably pretty close to your number of licks to get to the center. It is. You have closure, my son. You've been granted
I've
closure
been absolved.
of your lollipop sins. I don't know what that means. Anyway, what else we got? Anything else?
I had one. Hold on.
Gimme.
If you had your time to go back to college and you could design one course specifically for you,
Segways. Go ahead. Sorry.
what would it be? And what would the course load look like?
I like this a lot. Okay. And is this one course or is this a major? You said
It
course load.
it could be a major, it could be a series of courses.
Let's say minor. How about that?
Specifically, while you're thinking, let me give the
A
background. I was watching
minor.
Accepted the other day, which is
What a good movie.
one of my favorite just fall asleep movies. And thinking about if we were to create a college, I mean, we've talked about this before on the podcast, but um, if we were to design something where you wanted to learn, but not necessarily within the straits of, the basics like
Yeah.
math, science, language, all of those sorts of things, but something that was a little niche to what you wanted to do. What would that look like?
So the first thing that came to my mind in terms of what I want to do is different from like what I maybe want to do professionally because I don't think this would translate well to profession. But the first thing that I thought of would be cosmic slash atomic philosophy. And I don't know if philosophy is the right word, but I don't want to get into the math of all of it necessarily, but I want to be able to speak better about all of the different uh big topics within either the cosmos or at an atomic scale. Like I know the buzzwords of um like the three body problem and quantum entanglement and you know there's a couple of others that I can't think of off the top of my head. I know them and I know them enough to like have a bro level discussion, but I don't know them enough to like actually be well versed in and try to like explain it to someone who doesn't know anything about it. Like, and I also think that would be like crazy, super mind blowing and interesting and things like that. So that's where I went initially. I don't know if that's ultimately where I would end up, but that's the first thing that popped in my head.
We have a really, you actually almost copied me on this.
Hell
So,
yeah.
as somebody who loves science fiction, a course study on science fiction literature
Hmm.
and like the ideas surrounding what's been, produced and what's been actually like thought up, and taking off what you said, like things like Dyson spheres and von Neumann probes and different things that are kind of in the science fiction world considered eventualities, I
Hmm.
guess, is kind of the of like, if
We might actually have a warp drive. We
yeah,
actually
if
we've
the
been able to
human race
teleport stuff. Like
yeah,
this is
if the human
nuts.
race were to advance at the rate we're going, and in 100 years, 200 years, get to the point where the things we've talked about in science fiction were a reality, like what does that look like? What's the and I don't want to go into like the physics of it or the math behind it so much, not me personally. I'm sure there's people that would,
They already have
you know
courses for that. It's called physics and
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And but even just
calculus.
thinking about like the possibilities of like going into space and going beyond our solar system, and what would that look like, what does it look like to like try and colonize different planets, so like eventual, I honestly don't know what the like term for it would be, but like what does advanced science beyond what we have right now look like, and talk about it within the realm of current scientific ideas and also like science fiction.
But bringing it back to quote closure, again, I can't regurgitate everything that Brian Cox said in his last podcast with Neil deGrasse Tyson, but he was talking about how the role of someone who's actually in these professions is to ask why and to continue to explore and find the solutions until you've actually found the solution. At this point, there's a lot of unknowns for sure, but there's I feel like they're starting to wrap up a little bit and we're getting a little bit of closure. There's some things that we may never know, right? But in terms of like a universal theory of everything, there's a pretty good chance that we may have that in our lifetime. And so that would be something to have awesome to have closure on. And not like let's say for all intents and purposes, Big Bang was the thing at the beginning of the universe. That's the most widely accepted theory. However, there are other, we live in a simulation, we're in a black hole, yeah, lots of other types of things. But like if we have this universal theory, we may be able to confirm that there was a Big Bang, but we'll never know what was before it. Like there's not evidence enough for us to be able to observe what was before that. So it's like, okay, we can define our universe as it is today and probably going into tomorrow, but before that, we got nothing. So I would take that level of closure.
I would even put it out there on like a little bit of a smaller scale of, especially with like this new telescope that we have and discovering planets that
Is there
have
life?
have potential for human habitability. And what does it look like if we discover life on those planets? Do we follow the prime directive? Do we like, we don't have to even have the capability of doing stuff like that at the moment? But like identifying planets that are a good candidate for exploration, and do we send people out to that? Do we take a risk on, and with the state of our own planet as it is, what does that look like with the scientific community coming together? What does that look like with sharing resources? What are our resources? How do we divide those up? How do we come together and be like, okay, we're gonna pick a planet in a neighboring solar system and just kind of fucking go for it? So a lot of those cool questions of like early, I feel like we're, as weird as it is to say this out loud, like I feel like even with where we're at in the world, we're in the early stages of exploration outside of our own solar system. And what does it actually look like to go find and potentially be on some planet that's not our own?
Anyway, speaking of closure, I think it's time to close the episode. That was a good segue.
It was all right.
This has been a day drinking episode. Find us on all the social medias at _bar banter, except for Blue Sky, we're the bar banter. New episodes every Wednesday. That's how you say that word. Link in the description. We can support the podcast and like and subscribe. Just remember, this is our podcast, and you're just along for the ride.
Day drinking.